Borderlands 4. Let's start with the fourth one. This game bets big on a huge open world with deserts, icy plains, and industrial ruins, bringing back the spirit of the first game. But with that increased scale, it lost some of its signature details. The fiery pipes, elemental reactions, and those satisfying explosive barrels are gone. There are new mechanics, though. A grappling hook, gliders, and a double dash. They all add mobility, but they don't really fill the emptiness of those huge spaces. On the plus side, the story is put together better than in the third game. However, there's less charisma. The main villain doesn't measure up to a charmer like Handsome Jack, and most of the side characters are just faceless extras. The missions are repetitive, just clearing out enemy outposts, collecting resources, with only a few dramatic scenes here and there. None of it is very gripping. There are even fewer jokes, and the ones that are there feel more subdued. I guess the writers just grew up. You do run into familiar faces like Claptrap, which helps brighten the overall sluggish story a little. The combat, though, is the best it's ever been. Bosses now have multiple phases and complex attack patterns. The fights have become genuinely interesting. The difficulty has even been bumped up a bit. So overall, Borderlands 4 still maintains the standard and gives you dozens of hours of gun-hunting fun. But it has lost that crazy spark that made the series feel like a wild party. It's just a solid game, nothing more. Blueprints. Blueprints is a rare example of a puzzle game where the very structure of the house you walk through becomes the main challenge. You play as a young man named Simon, who's exploring a 45-room estate. To claim his inheritance, he has to find a mysterious 46th room. The catch is, the building's layout changes every single dawn. The gameplay loop is like a board game strategy. You choose blueprints, build out the mansion, collect rare gems for expensive rooms, and try not to paint yourself into a corner. Every room can reveal clues, letters, and absurd riddles, and the keys to solving them are often in other parts of the house. There's no quest log or convenient markers, just your own notebook, screenshots, and patience. Just getting to the first ending is a serious test of your memory and observation skills. The game's uniqueness is in how it breaks familiar puzzle patterns. You'll find chess puzzles and sliding tile puzzles right next to riddles that don't fit any genre. A strangely arranged set of chairs might be a code, or it might just be a coincidence. The gentle hand-holding at the start soon disappears, and the game becomes a pure investigation where a tiny detail might become crucial like 10 hours later. A heads up, you don't just need to know English. You need a deep knowledge of synonyms and archaic words to solve the linguistic brain teasers. Even native speakers can get stuck on these. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, it's a really neat thing. A rare mix of excitement, logic, and almost detective-like delight. Metal Eden. Metal and Eden. A cyberpunk shooter from the creators of Ruiner. This game is brutally fast. The story is mostly for atmosphere. A being called Nexus tells you your mission is to save people, but you slowly realize your character is a combat suit stuck in an endlessly repeating cycle. Every mission is just another phase of the loop. The main attraction here is the dynamics and the combat. You're constantly running out of ammo, which forces you to use your entire arsenal, not just your favorite gun. The smart level design encourages an aggressive playstyle. You have double jumps, short dashes for evasion, and even quick switching. That's rapidly switching weapons, which becomes an absolute necessity. The arenas are designed so that ammo, health kits, and armor spawn with a delay, forcing you to constantly move and change tactics. The game's main feature is the ability to transform into a battle ball, kind of like in Metroid. You can instantly roll between different levels of the arena and change your playstyle on the fly. The levels themselves are these giant space factories with bright neon lights and deep shadows. The look, combined with a heavy synth soundtrack, literally pushes you to move faster and shoot more accurately. But there are some rough edges. The core management system feels overloaded. Cores are a special resource you can throw like a grenade, but the damage is pretty weak. The auto-aim in close quarters combat can also be a bit unreliable. But for about 5 hours, Metal Eden delivers a concentrated dose of driving action and proves that these developers can compete with the biggest names in shooters, without compromising on quality in either gameplay or technical execution. Dying Light, the Beast. Alright, so this is the new Dying Light. Now, I'm actually writing the script for this video before the game has been released, so I can't tell you right away if it's amazing or just okay. Because of that, this part will be a bit more dry and factual. That said, there's already a lot of information out there, and it's only a couple of days from launch. The game brings back Kyle Crane, the hero from the first game, after 13 years of being imprisoned by a maniac called the Bear. The setting is the Castirian forests, which were once a tourist paradise, but are now abandoned wilds with dense thickets and rotting houses. And of course, zombies. A very large number of zombies. The developers seem to have taken inspiration from Twin Peaks and Stranger Things, by the look of it. So the atmosphere is this eerily fairy tale-like vibe. The parkour, naturally, is still here. There are plenty of roofs, footbridges, and half-destroyed houses to scramble over, hiding from the dead and from people. But the main new feature is a newfound focus on firearms. In fights with armed bandits, Crane freely uses assault rifles, pistols, and even grenades. But you shouldn't shoot zombies mindlessly. The noise will instantly draw in every infected in the area. Our hero has one more trick up his sleeve, transforming into the Beast from the game's title. For a short time, Kyle becomes a real combat machine, smashing through floors, throwing heavy objects, and tearing enemies apart. In the demo, he even rips the head off a huge mutant. This mode adds an element of predatory power to the familiar parkour, changing your combat style on the fly. In terms of scale, the project grew from a planned DLC into a full, standalone game, offering about 20 hours of gameplay. And owners of the Ultimate Edition of Dying Light 2 will get it for free. So, the Beast is making the series more of a shooter, but it keeps that signature blend of melee combat, vertical parkour, and a dark post-apocalyptic thriller, ready to keep players on edge once again. Dynasty Warriors, Origins. Next up is Dynasty Warriors, Origins, with its massive, large-scale brawls. The story takes us back to the origins of the Three Kingdoms era, ending at the Battle of Red Cliffs, and offers a new perspective through a no-name protagonist, a former warrior of a secret order who must choose a ruler to unify China. You can't create this hero from scratch, and his role is somewhat limited. But meeting familiar faces will bring back memories from previous games. This time, between the large campaigns, there's a province map with side missions, mini-battles, and even a relationship system with your allies, which adds some depth. The game itself feels like a confident reboot after the failed 9th installment. It takes the best from the classics and updates the mechanics so that the massive battles on huge maps are captivating once again. The combat has stopped being just a simple attack, attack, block, and has become more lively. There are now parries, dodges, and even more flexible combos. You can freely switch between up to 10 weapon types, dual officers in the style of the 4th game, and special Musu attacks, which are like your ultimate super moves, are now integrated even more naturally. The scale of the battles has grown. You see thousands of soldiers moving as a single horde, and the massive assaults really look like genuine battles. The game has gotten rid of forced grinding. Experience and resources flow smoothly, and if you fail a mission, you can retry it from a checkpoint instead of the very beginning. The graphics are also noticeably cleaner than in the 9th game, and the redesigned characters are less cartoonish. The balance between historical drama and light fantasy has finally been found. There are downsides, of course. They mostly concern convenience, I think. There's not much character customization, the weapon selection is limited, and they still haven't brought back cow pie. Also, the chosen time period cuts off right when things are getting most interesting. Nevertheless, Origins feels like a really good comeback for the series. Like a dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Now this is a different kind of Asian game. Pirate Dragon. It's a fun, but kind of secondary spin-off to the main series. The story veers into pirate adventure territory. After a shipwreck and a case of amnesia, Goro Majima is gathering a crew to become the king of the pirates. Instead of the series, signature Yakuza drama with its double crosses and all that, here it's about 80% pure absurdity. Some of it is genuinely funny, and the few serious moments that are left only slightly remind you of the series' roots. The characters are barely developed, and the antagonists just feel like background noise. On the plus side, it's really easy for newcomers to jump in without any knowledge of the past games. The main new feature is the naval combat. You can upgrade your ship, change out the cannons, and stage boarding actions and all-out ship-to-ship battles. The controls are arcade-style. Your ship literally drifts, but the repetitive maps and drawn-out encounters can get a little tiresome, especially on higher difficulties, so I wouldn't recommend playing on that. The on-land part of the game, though, is much stronger. They brought back the driving beat-em-up combat and added 2 whole new styles: Mad Dog, with crazy combos and afterimages, and Sea Wolf, which summons dark spirits by playing instruments. You can now jump, dodge gunfire, and even switch between fighting styles instantly right in the middle of a brawl. But sadly, there aren't many truly large-scale fights in the city locations, so the system never feels fully unlocked. You also get the series' staple activities: karaoke, treasure hunting, fun little side quests, and a naval coliseum. The music is upbeat, but the graphics obviously don't quite match up to the 8th main game in some places. The biggest downside is the frequent crashes and frame rate drops, which still haven't been fixed. Still, it's a bright and colorful game, but it feels like a side story. For fans of Majima and lovers of absurd stories, it's a great find. For everyone else, I'd only pick it up on a deep sale. M.A.S.S. Builder. This is M.A.S.S. Builder, an action RPG about giant combat robots where the real star isn't the story, but the freedom of building them. You're the commander of a private company, creating and piloting M.A.S.S. units, which are these mechanical assault suits. The whole point is to destroy creatures called quarks. The story is presented like a visual novel, with dialogue between missions. You get the occasional story event and some basic explanations about a world where humans are hiding in shelters after the quark invasion. To be honest, the campaign isn't actually finished yet and offers about 8 hours of combat. The core gameplay loop is short, linear corridor missions, clearing out different arenas and hunting bosses. You get materials, battle points, and new parts as rewards. The combat is a mix of a slasher and a little bit of a third-person shooter. There are 5 weapon types, and you can literally build them piece by piece, assembling hilts and blades to turn them into a sword, a scythe, a hammer, or an axe. There's also a progression system for your pilot. But the game's greatest strength is its customization. You can break your robot down into dozens of elements, from the helmet and shoulders down to individual parts of the feet. You can paint it any color with glow effects, apply decals with precise control over their angle and size, and add decorative accessories. All the armor is purely cosmetic. Your stats depend entirely on the internal parts you equip, so your robot's look never limits its combat effectiveness. For the downsides, the difficulty balance can swing from way too easy to suddenly hitting a brick wall boss. Farming for rare parts can get grindy, and the repetitive mission structure might bore you after a while. That said, the developers are still actively updating the game every couple of months, expanding the armor sets and promising to finish the story. But even right now, it's a paradise for anyone who loves building mechs. All in all, it has one of the most flexible combat robot creation systems out there, where you can spend hours building your perfect machine and testing it in battle. No, I'm not a human. Wow, this one is an absolute masterpiece. No, I'm not a human. It's an atmospheric, visually strange, but super cool Russian horror game where the tension doesn't come from jump scares, but from every single decision you make. The world is falling apart. There's chaos outside. The streets are filled with the dead, and the night belongs to mysterious guests who can take on a human form. You're holed up alone in a house, and the only thing separating you from them is your front door. The entire gameplay is built around whether you open that door or not. You let survivors in, you turn away the infected, but any mistake leads to a gruesome death. Sometimes, government squads get involved, taking away the people you tried to protect, adding a feeling of powerlessness to the overall dread. Every visit to your door is a new mini-story. From a writer who gifts you a cat as a symbol of hope, to an armed fanatic delivering his own twisted justice. Randomness plays the role of the writer here. You never know who's outside your door, a savior, a traitor, or maybe even a killer. The game's atmosphere is minimalist, but it weighs on you more than most other horror games. The sparse sounds, the grim visuals, the text that hits your nerves. This isn't a linear story. It's a social nightmare about trust, guilt, and fear. Your decisions are the only plot, and there is no right path. The game keeps you in a constant state of tension and makes every playthrough unique, forcing you to care about every life you let in or turn away. It feels incredibly powerful. Hell is Us. Hell is Us, a dark adventure that blends immersive sim and light third-person action, where the focus is on exploration and the feeling of the world, not on combat difficulty. You play as a protagonist returning to their homeland to find their parents, only to be thrown into the hell of a civil war. The horrors are shown without censorship. Hanged children, mass graves, violence, and racial hatred. These human sins literally come to life as hollow creatures, whose forms symbolize emotions like anger or grief. The story is told in fragments, holding you more with its lore than any central mystery. You don't really participate in the war. You mostly observe the atrocities from the side and help people you meet, from grieving families to drunk soldiers. Doing these good deeds opens up new areas and grants you rewards. There's no map in the game, by the way, so you have to navigate by memory, hints from NPCs, and environmental clues. This makes it feel closer to classic Zelda and encourages you to keep your own notes, which is a design direction I really appreciate. The gameplay itself mixes free exploration with simple combat. Dodges, parries, a drone ability, and weapons with different modifiers that not only make you stronger, but also change the blade's appearance. Death has almost no penalty, but you can optionally enable a mode where you lose resources upon dying. The side quests are mostly about finding items, where you have to notice the details yourself. For example, figuring out that the milk from an old man could be given to a mother with an infant in a ruined village. The puzzles are generally simple, but are woven very well into the world, alongside finding wands, seals, and hidden paths. The world itself is meticulously handcrafted. The swamp villages, city ruins, it all looks quite beautiful. Overall, this game isn't about adrenaline-pumping combat or loot farming. It's about a slow, immersive descent into the atmosphere of war and guilt. It's for those who love open worlds without markers and value finding connections through dialogue and landscapes. It's perhaps one of the most unusual adventures of the year. Dread Flats. Dread Flats. This is the second compact horror game for today, this time in first person, which takes us to a Chinese multi-story apartment from the 90s that has become a local legend. The plot seems familiar. Disappearing tenants, rumors of a curse, and a search for an important person. But the main attraction here isn't the story, it's the atmosphere. For the first few hours, there's almost complete silence and bright lights. No monsters, just the distant sound of beads rolling and faint rustling that makes you think someone is breathing right outside the door. It works better than jump scares. The game slowly, I mean really slowly, builds this feeling of dread as you wander the hallways, collect notes, and check the security cameras in the guard's room. But then, in the second half, the tension explodes into full-on stealth gameplay. Chases begin, terrifying entities with unnatural proportions appear, and you have to hide in closets and dark corners, as you do. This is also when you encounter the first few jump scares. They are rare, but they are effective. The mechanics are pretty simple. The game is about exploration, finding alternate routes, and solving the occasional interactive puzzle. The gameplay isn't very long, but it's executed very carefully. Sound design plays a key role, and the visuals are minimalist. Every encounter with the monsters feels fairly fresh. All in all, it's a short but gripping horror game about the fear of silence and anticipation, and it keeps you more on edge than many bigger, louder titles in the genre. Cronos The New Dawn. Cronos The New Dawn, a grim survival horror where Soviet-era panel apartment blocks and Polish factories from the 1980s blend with retrofuturism and chilling ideas about time. You play as a wanderer from a collective, exploring Eastern Europe after a mysterious catastrophe, gathering souls of the past to restore your memory and understand what happened to the world and to your heroine. Every consciousness you collect changes the environment around you and pulls you deeper into madness. The atmosphere is working at full power here. Gray courtyards and stairwells, letters from the dead, the quiet horror of abandoned apartments. And outside, mutant hollows roam. They are the embodiment of human grief and anger. You don't just have to kill them, you have to burn their bodies, or they will literally merge together into a stronger form. The lore is revealed through notes and the environment, leaving plenty of room for your own theories and leading to different alternate endings. The gameplay itself is quite slow. Resources are scarce. You face real trade-offs during crafting between ammo and health kits, and your inventory is tight, so you can't carry all your finds with you. The combat is Souls-like, with dodges, parries, and finishing moves, but it's not brutally hard. So this game isn't about fast-paced action. It's more about a slow, anxious exploration of a world where every nook could hold an important detail, and every soul reveals a new layer of tragedy. Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War, Definitive Edition. Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War brings back the legendary RTS without any radical changes, but with much improved quality-of-life features. This is the same classic from 2004, the grim future of the 41st millennium, the battles with 9 familiar factions, and the campaigns that define the genre. Now, it all runs on modern systems with 4K monitors, sharper textures, new lighting, and a camera that lets you get a better look at the battlefield. You can even run mods from 2 decades ago right out of the box, no workarounds needed. It's important to understand this is a remaster, not a remake. The developers faithfully preserved the original gameplay, including the old meta with its bugs and balance issues, only lightly patching the pathfinding and the netcode. If you're expecting new mechanics or reworked balance, you won't find them here. But if you want to replay all the campaigns without compatibility issues, or just jump into a multiplayer that still works on official servers, and see a visual presentation that doesn't hurt your eyes in 2025, then this edition does its job perfectly well. Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade. It's a flashy character action game about humanity returning to Earth, but instead of a somber moral tale, it greets you with pure style and intense combat. The main character is a woman named Eve. And let's be real, she's not just the face on the poster, she's also the main event. I mean, she's a finely tuned combat instrument. The fighting is all about parries, quick dodges, well-timed strikes, and powerful special moves. You also get help from a drone that can turn into a machine gun, a rocket launcher, or even a laser cannon. The combat is built to keep you on your toes. Even on the easier difficulty, a few enemies can force you to mix up your tactics, and the bosses require you to learn their attack patterns. The game is generous with new abilities and costumes, but doesn't burden you with overly complex systems. You show up, you fight, you move on. The story takes a backseat. Sure, there's a mission to save the planet and mysteries about its past, but the dialogues and characters probably won't stick with you. They work more as a backdrop for the fights and exploring the world. And visually, the world is gorgeous. You get bright locations, from desolate wastelands to the ruins of megacities, a smooth picture with no frame rate drops, and a rich photo mode that lets you appreciate all the curves. Well, and everything else too. A powerful soundtrack complements the atmosphere, even if some of the loop tracks can get a bit repetitive. But the game doesn't pretend to be some deep, cult classic. It honestly delivers exactly what you come for. A spectacular action show, a cool heroine, and a fun time without getting bogged down by mechanics. Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. A dark take on the legend of King Arthur, turned into a big role-playing journey with survival elements. You are a bearer of Arthur's spirit, tasked with finding lost artifacts and unraveling the catastrophe that has fallen over this version of Avalon. The first few hours are genuinely mesmerizing. A grim world blighted by a mystical mist, morally gray choices, conversations with Arthur himself, and a real feeling of freedom. You can explore any cave, gather loot, brew potions, and listen to the stories of the locals. The atmosphere of Eastern European despair and the lore you have to piece together yourself really pulls you in, especially when the world transforms between day and night and rare monsters come out. But after a while, the magic does start to fade. The story loses a bit of its momentum, and the grimness can begin to feel oppressive. The combat looks ambitious, but feels clunky in the early game. Your stamina drains after just a couple of swings, the animations are a bit stiff, and death from falling is a frequent and silly problem. With progression, the situation does improve. The skill tree and crafting system work great, but the grind can creep in, along with the constant need to manage your resources. For an indie game, the visuals are really impressive. The music sets the perfect mood, though the lack of a voice for the main character makes the dialogues lose some of their impact. In the end, it remains an atmospheric and absorbing adventure for fans of dark fantasy and slow-paced exploration. It just lacks that final layer of polish and dynamism to become the new Skyrim it clearly aspires to be. But for me, personally, it's my game of the year. Hollow Knight, Silksong. Silksong, the game everyone has been waiting for. It takes us to Farloom, a giant insect kingdom, where the new heroine, Hornet, escapes captivity and climbs toward a shining citadel to uncover the secrets of her origin. It's the same darkly poetic world of Hollow Knight, but faster and on a grander scale. The locations are connected by a clever web of paths, each with its own atmosphere, from green groves to palaces bathed in gold. Christopher Larkin's music builds tension and beauty at the same time, and the rare cutscenes and dialogues make the story feel alive without a single wasted word. But the game's main weapon, as before, is speed. Hornet fights with incredible pace. Her arsenal of attacks, dashes, and acrobatic maneuvers demands unreal precision and constant stamina management. Fights against dozens of enemy types and more than 40 bosses feel like a series of short, sharp duels where one mistake decides everything. The side quests and hunting provide rare loot, but they can sometimes force you to farm for resources, which slows down the formula of the first game a little. Nevertheless, there's more freedom to explore, a higher difficulty level, and a deeper world. This is a sequel that doesn't just repeat the original, it evolves it into a new peak for the entire genre. South of Midnight. South of Midnight is just gorgeous. The game takes us to the fictional Prosper County in the deep American South, where reality is blended with myths and legends. You play as Hazel, a young woman with a difficult past. After her father's death and ongoing conflicts with her mother, she'd been living away from her family. One day, a hurricane forces her to return home. During the disaster, she hears a mystical call and becomes a weaver. She's basically a chosen one, able to mend the torn threads of the world and heal souls. And it's not just a title. Her weaving magic lets her tame spirits, mend rifts between worlds, and uncover secrets that are hidden from ordinary people. The story focuses on saving her mother and exploring her family's roots, but it gradually expands beyond her personal drama. Hazel encounters creatures from southern folklore, from swamp spirits to the tragic ghosts of old plantations, and helps them deal with their pain, uncovering stories of slavery, old sins, and southern magic. Each region feels like its own separate legend. A live orchestral soundtrack just enhances the whole experience. Now the gameplay is fairly simple. Light platforming, calm combat, and collecting artifacts mostly serve as a backdrop for the journey. This game isn't about action. It's a slow, beautifully presented adventure through myths and family secrets, where the atmosphere and Hazel herself are the main attractions. The Precinct. Now this one is literally a police officer simulator. The game drops us into the 1980s on a gloomy East Coast. You play as Nick Cordell, Jr., a rookie fresh out of the police academy who's just started his duty in a city where petty street theft sits right alongside bank heists and gang wars. Nick has a personal motive: to unravel the mysterious death of his father, who is also a cop. But first, it's all about the daily grind of patrol duty. Walking the beat, setting up stings, responding to domestic disputes, getting into shootouts in back alleys, high-speed chases on rain-slicked streets at night, and even taking part in raids with helicopter support. All of this is set against a backdrop of dynamic weather and a day-night cycle that actually affects how citizens and criminals behave. The game does a really good job of mixing a police simulator with an action sandbox. You might be writing someone a parking ticket 1 minute, and the next you're calling in roadblocks and spike strips to chase down an armed gang. The city really reacts to what you do. Gangs fight over territory, the street life feels alive, and any call for service can turn into a complex, multi-stage chase. The main storyline is a real film noir about a family secret and corruption. It unfolds gradually through dialogues and smaller investigations. But the coolest part is definitely the feeling of a living, breathing city. It's not GTA, of course, but it gets surprisingly close. Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days. This one was overlooked by a lot of people, and in my opinion, it didn't deserve that. Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days. The setting is the 1980s in the quiet Texas town of Walton, which suddenly turns into a living nightmare. The streets are drowning in hot air, screams, and a sea of the dead. Here, you're not a lone hero. You're the leader of a group of ordinary people who, just yesterday, were going to work and shopping for groceries, and are now hiding in half-destroyed houses, scared of every sound, and making decisions about who to save and who to leave behind. There is no safe corner in this game. Zombies break down barricades, food runs out, and exhaustion and fear drive people insane faster than hunger. Every day is a choice between risk and survival. You need to lead people out of infected districts, search for water, medicine, and tools, craft weapons from scrap, and patch up your shelter, all while knowing it might not hold against the horde tonight. Stealth gives you a chance for a quiet trip outside, but even the smallest mistake or a random noise can turn the whole mission into a frantic escape. Losing any of your characters is permanent, and the group's morale is fragile, like glass. Mental breakdowns and nightmares are just as dangerous as zombie bites. So this isn't a zombie action game. It's more of a game about fragile humanity, where the path to salvation is littered not just with the bodies of the dead, but with heavy, impossible decisions. Doom: The Dark Ages. This is a divisive one. Instead of futuristic space stations and arenas, this part throws the Doom Slayer into a grim Dark Ages, where the dampness of stone castles mixes with the smell of sulfur, and hordes of hell roar beyond the castle walls. Basically, it's a prequel to the 2016 Doom and Eternal, but with a surprising focus on a shield, as you might remember, plus parrying and melee combat. The crazy jumps and speed boosts are gone. Every fight feels like a duel where you need to master the timing of attacks, throws, and powerful counterattacks. The Pilum Shield is the symbol of this new mechanic. It blocks, it slashes, it shoots lightning, it even helps you smash through obstacles, turning every encounter into a kind of thought-out ritual. That said, the game still stays true to the series' spirit. The super shotgun is here, and it still rips demons to pieces. And the arsenal, including M.A.S.s and execution gauntlets, does expand the familiar formula. But not everyone liked the changes. Smaller demons are turned into ammo drops. Some bosses quickly become just regular enemies, and overly frequent levels with a dragon and a robot kind of dilute the drive, feeling a bit forced. The story does explore the origins of the Slayer's rage, and has a few powerful scenes near the end. But even the main villain came off as bland, and the music lost that signature metal intensity. Nevertheless, overall, I think it's a pretty good game. Well, at least in my opinion, it definitely is. Mafia: The Old Country. And finally, let's talk about Mafia. It's not a masterpiece, but it's also far from the worst game coming out right now. I'd describe it with one word: acceptable, but I should still go into a bit more detail. It takes the series back to where the Mafia itself was just taking shape. Instead of the familiar skyscrapers, we get sun-scorched Sicily at the beginning of the 20th century, where vineyards sit next to catacombs, and family honor is more important than the law. You play as Enzo Favara, who who grew up in poverty and backbreaking labor. He's willing to risk everything to escape that life and earn a place in the Tarasi family. His path isn't about climbing a gangster ladder. It's about a sworn oath that demands sacrifices, from the first blood spilled with knives to the first shots fired from a sawn-off shotgun. Here, trust is rare, and betrayal is a craft. And any toast to someone's health could end with you attending their funeral. The story is presented as a hard-edged crime drama. You get beautiful cutscenes and authentic Italian-Sicilian accents in the dialogue, assuming you don't switch it to another language, of course. The intrigue between the families unfolds slowly, but it's gripping. However, the gameplay itself feels very restrained. The stealth sections are almost cartoonish. The enemies are practically blind. And as you might remember, the levels are pretty straightforward. The side activities mostly just boil down to collecting things. That said, the knife fights and combat with antique weapons are very atmospheric, even if they aren't particularly complex. And technical hiccups like occasional freezes remind you that this is more of an interactive movie than a sandbox. But overall, you can forgive the game for that. It has a strong, vivid atmosphere and a good story in the spirit of those old Mafia sagas, even if its mechanics are shallow and there's practically no freedom of choice. Well, that's all for today.